Hello, everybody. Steve Garfield here, and I'm here with my mom for our show that we call Hello, Millie. And she loves talking, so here she is. Hello, Millie. Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm just great. I'm so glad I'm here today because I have some fun things to tell you.
Oh, I'm excited. What do you want to tell me?
Well, the question went something like,
Well, first of all, the question is from a book you're reading
yeah,
from
okay.
my good friend Jan Zlotnick, and the book is called 23 Things I Wish I Could Ask My Mom and Dad Today. So, what we've been doing is you've been reading the book. I gave it to you as a gift, and each page has a question that prompts thinking about things that maybe we hadn't thought about. And that's what you're enjoying, I think.
Yes, it brings back a lot of memories. The more I think about the answers to the question, the more things I start to remember. They're buried, but they're buried back here, but I dig them up and it makes an interesting conversation.
Yep. So uh,
I've,
you told me you have there's one question in the book that you like this week that we're going to talk about,
okay,
and what it's paraphrased. What thing do you regret not doing?
okay,
So tell us about that.
all right. What I thought about was when I was a junior in high school, at that time, we would meet with a counselor. She would look over our records and make suggestions about what to do in the senior year and the future. So I went to that one. It was very good. She looked my record over and she said, Millie, you have a good record. And when I look at your senior year, I would suggest to you that you take a course like Spanish so you would get extra credits and that would entitle you to an entry to a college. Well, I hadn't thought about that at all. None of my friends were going to college after they were going to go out and get a job. And I never thought about that. And I never talked to that subject about with my friends. But when she said that to me, I was flattered. I said, well, good, I qualify. But in those days, the girls graduated from high school, they went to work because the family needed the money. So I was flattered, pleased that she thought I qualified, but I did not pursue it. And I was not aware of any kind of a, what do they call it? Any help, any financial help. I didn't know anything about it. So I took my senior year and I took a stupid class in office machinery. That was not any good
What
because when you
in those days? What was office machinery? I can only imagine.
well, it was nothing much machinery that you had to take a course for. I would have learned on the job. It was
Like a typewriter or something like that.
naughty. Typing was special course. I
Oh,
took typing, that was special. No,
what
this
kind of
was
machines did they have in offices then?
office, a copy machine, copy machine, and maybe some kind of a phone, and maybe when you send a fast message out, you could send a, I forget what they call it, but it was nothing. I could have skipped that and taken anything else but office machinery. That wasn't good for anything. But but I remember I had that. If someone was close to me and I told them about it, they could have influenced me to go to Salem State. And I could have commuted every day to Salem State. Wouldn't have cost much, and I could have done it. But I elected not to. I went with all the other friends who went to work. So
Right.
that was the end of that. And while I was working, I didn't have much of any excitement. I met new people, but it wasn't an educational experience. I made a little money, but I didn't learn too much. And so one job led to another, and I began to meet people, have friends, go out. Okay, I learned some things, but if I had gone to college, I would have lived at campus, met people, had got an education, didn't do that. But instead, I found other ways to have an education. I would go frequently to the library take out books. I would find classes in the community being offered by different groups. I would go to the classes. Some were in Boston. So after work, I would go to this very good place. I took many classes there. One of the classes, when I think back, I don't know what it was called. If it was public speaking, what, something like that. And I loved that one because what I remember about that particular class was the instructor said, when you talk, don't just talk and make a sentence, da, 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 da. That's dull. When you talk and you make a sentence, say, da, 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 da. So you get the people's interest. So that always stayed in my memory.
That's great. Yeah.
I took pencil sketching. I took exercise classes. I took seeing the great out of doors. I loved that one. Skunk cabbage, I remember, first sign of spring. So whatever was available to me, I took those classes. So that's how I made up somewhat for not going to college. And then when I got married, I was fortunate to meet a man who was interested in many things. He was always finding something we could go to, a college play.
Hopefully that man is my father, right?
Yes, that man is your father. My husband, Aaron. So we did things like that. He liked foreign films, so I got an education with foreign films, and different little things came up. And even one time later on in our marriage, Salem State offered classes to seniors, and I don't remember if we had to pay anything for it. So we elected to go to Salem State at night, and we chose a music class.
So you finally got there, Salem State College.
Yeah. So we took that class, and we took that class and got credits for it because we had homework. And I learned from that experience to appreciate what students go through, because we thought we took the easiest class that the college was offering, but it turned out to be a lot of work. So
that's always the way. The easy courses, you sound like, oh, this is going to be easy. It's like science fiction book reading, and everybody thinks, oh, we'll just read science fiction. But no, because that's when I went to college, I did science fiction book reading class. And then they go into the story and what's behind the story.
Yeah.
And this character really means this other character. And when they were doing this thing, what they were really doing was this other thing. Oh, it's so complicated.
Right.
I thought it was going to be easy. Just read the book and have a good time. But they're never like that.
No, well, that's what we found out with the simple thing, like not simple, classical music. We had homework. And I thought, we only took music appreciation, and look at all this homework and research. And these kids who are in college, they're not just taking the music class, they're taking all the other courses, which are not easy either. So There was a lot of hard work into being a college student. But we did it, and we found out what that was. And then there was offered for many years, they offered us bus trips to colleges, Elder Hostel, I think it was called. And you went on the bus, you signed up, you went on the bus. It was a week's class in whatever college was available and what you selected, with different classes in that particular college. So we did that for many years, and that was fun.
I remember you loved that.
Yeah, there was no homework. We met very interesting people who had traveled to Hawaii and gone to Europe on these things. We stayed in the New England states, but that was good. And one time we took a trip a bus trip. This was not Elder Hostel, it was some other company. We took a trip to Washington with a commercial bus with other people, and that was fun. And especially fun on this Washington trip because we had a fantastic hostess. She was charming, she was knowledgeable, she was warm, and I just connected with her. We just related. And at the end of the trip, she put out this question to us. She says she wants us all to draw some picture, some sketch of what impressed us on the trip. Well, it didn't take too long for me to decide what it was I was going to draw. I didn't draw a thing then, not crayon, not pen, nothing. But I wanted to participate in that. So I drew her. It was happened to be a windy, rainy day, and she was holding an umbrella and she was smiling, and it just clicked with me. I thought, oh, I've got to get a picture. I love her. So I took the picture of her. And then after we all submitted our pieces, she selected a winner. And I was amazed. The winner was me. I had done this sketch of this lady holding an umbrella, and some other lady had done a sketch of the Capitol. She really did the Capitol the way the Capitol looked. But she didn't get the first prize. I did because of my sketch. And there she is, this lovely, lovely, that's just the way she was, lovely lady. So I didn't even remember that we had taken that picture, but Steve dug it up. He had my album and he found that. And he just showed a sketch. Could you show that sketch again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the highlights of that particular trip. We went to Europe. We did other things, but when I think back, I remember that trip because of her. Yeah. So that's how I got my education. I always searched out for some class being offered free or paying, and Aaron was the same way. He liked to do different things. And he got me going on this historic house trips, which I didn't care for because they were stuffy old houses, but he loved them. So I went to the houses too. But I got to see a lot more that way than when I was single. I didn't get to see much of any of that.
So Jan's here, the author of the book, and he has a question.
Okay.
So your regret, you're saying, is that you didn't go to college.
Right.
And he said, he's saying if you had a do-over on a regret, do you think you would have lost out on what your life did unfold to you? So what he's saying is, if you did go to college, do you think you would have missed out on the way your life really went?
Well, who knows what would have happened if I went to college. I don't regret not getting the education because I got the education bit by bit. I reached out and I got it. But I'll never know if I went to college and I lived there for the 4 years, I would have met different people and had a different life. And maybe I certainly wouldn't have had Steve. Yeah. So my life would have been different. In the end, I got some good jobs. I really enjoyed what I was doing. I was a bookkeeper. And in that job, I did the bookkeeping. I answered the phone. I greeted the people. One thing led to another. So I grew through my working. I was active in Hadassah, very active. And I did a lot of things for Hadassah if I wasn't that involved. Like I had to get up the first time and introduce the program I had planned. And I had bugs in my belly. I was so nervous about getting up there and introducing the person. But I did it. I was nervous. I did it the first time. And after that, I felt comfortable and I did it right along. So that's how I grew. By doing these things, I stretched and I did them. So I don't regret not having the education because I got it my way. But it's a mystery. Your life is different. Whatever move you make, whatever job you take, you're influenced by the people, by the work. So I did all right. I came out okay.
And Carol says, look at you now, Millie. You started coloring a few years ago.
Yeah. And I never
You never pursued it, but you're doing it now.
I'm doing it now. I remember talking about that when I was maybe first grade, second grade. I liked coloring the best. I never thought of it till this minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was given crayons. I didn't have, I don't think, I must not have had crayons when I was a kid. And
Oh,
I was given crayons in school and I used them and I liked it.
see?
But, but that was it. But then I
Yeah,
found the crayons much, much later in my life,
a lot later.
a lot later. Yeah. I liked a lot of schoolwork. I was the first one in line when I went to the first grade. I still see me standing at the gate, and I was the very first one in line. I was anxious to get in there and learn. Yep. Oh, so I have a question for Steve now. I think I've said what was on my mind about this. What about Steve? What would you do differently? What regrets do you have?
So, so you and Dad did encourage me to go to college. Carol, the peanut butter gallery. Carol is in the background.
She's adding something.
She has an urgent request before I tell my story. She wants me to show Tom Morris's comment, which says, "Some of the best educated people I've ever known never went to college."
True. That's true. I notice that too sometimes. Yes. They're self-educated. They just have it.
And he also says, "Millie, it's obvious that you're an extremely well-educated person. You did it right, grabbing it for yourself through life."
That's what I did.
That's nice, Tom. So see, so then they encouraged me to go to college. And, and one of my, it's funny now that you just told that story. One of Dad wanted me to go to Salem State College.
Yes.
So we had three schools to choose from: Salem State College, the local live at home, commute to college school,
Yeah.
UMass Amherst, Boston College. So in the end, I went to UMass Amherst, and I loved it there. I had a great education, wonderful experience, and I was a business major. And then I majored in accounting as my major, which was a big mistake because I didn't do well at that accounting. And what I was concentrating on when I was out at UMass was I was yearbook photographer. I was the manager of the newspaper National Ads. I was a DJ on local radio station. I was a manager at the photo co-op. And when I started not doing well in accounting, I remember going to a counselor, and I sat down to discuss what was happening. And he says, "Well, what else are you doing?" And I told him all those things. I loved all that photography and being on the radio and all of that. He says, "You've got to quit all that stuff and focus on your education." He said, "You're here for an education." And so I had to quit everything. And I said, "Can I keep the radio DJ?"
He wanted you to quit all the things you love.
The newspaper, the photo co-op, the
my.
photographer. He says, "You're here for an education. You quit everything and you focus on accounting." So I did what he said. I kept the radio station. And then I took accounting again in the summer and flunked it again. And the reason is because the way they taught that accounting course, they wanted you to pass the test. And the way you would pass the test is you had to memorize the homework. That's easy. I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to read the book and understand the concepts and then read the problem and figure out how to get to the solution.
Right.
And that didn't work for me. So finally I switched my major to business, which I just described how I like to do problem solving. Business was the perfect major for me. And I studied with George Ordeon, who invented management by objectives, which I loved. And then I was a TA. I was an assistant to him for 2 semesters in his class. So that was great. I loved everything about college. But the thing, if I had to say a regret, was I entered college thinking I was going to be an accountant, because that's what you and Dad, or Dad maybe mostly, said you should be an accountant. And that isn't what I should have done at college, because
Right.
I remember living in a house and we had girls on the second floor who were my friends, and they were in the media program, and they came back from their class and they said, we just, did a news show. We just did a TV show, and I was the reporter, and this one ran the camera. And I looked at them and I thought, oh, wow, I would love to do that with them. But in my mind, I never thought that that was something I could do. Like, it's weird because I just thought I was there to be a business degree and graduate and go work in business. And I did all the radio stuff on the side. So it's funny that I never thought that I could switch my major over to communications, which is what, a regret would be. That would be what I should have done.
Uh-huh.
I mean, but, looking back at it.
You went where your heart went. That's what you love to do. To this day, you just love to do it.
So it all worked out because look at us now. Now I'm doing a TV show on my own on the computer with you, running the camera. And so I was one of the first video bloggers, and I taught myself, and I worked at radio stations, and I worked at news stations, and I got in there as a support person and the Monitor channel. I worked at WGBH on their auction. I was an on-air auctioneer for like 8 years. So, the thing was I did that on the side, all the video and, TV stuff. So I still did it. So, I would throw that regret away because, the way my life went was I built on everything that I did to get here. And this, I love where I am. So it's fine that I didn't do that. But looking back on it, I should have done that, but I did it on my own. Just like Tom Morris was saying before, you did that on your own. I did all this video and audio on my own, just like you.
Yeah, I got my education on my own, bit by bit, because that's what I wanted.
I need to show some of the photos that I grabbed. People love these old-time photos of me in college. This is me in my dorm room. See, long hair, mustache. People, let me find another one. Another one of me at college. Oh, here's a good one.
Doesn't look like Steve.
Yeah. That's me. That's me in college. Yeah. Jan says album cover. I got a million of them, Jan. Tom says we're one very smart family. Yeah, we did it on our own, right, Ma? I guess is what you would say. Ma?
Yep.
Yep, we did it on our own.
We did. Something that you found a way to do it. I found a way. I love those little classes. I even went with your father one time to a college. It was cooking school, and a whole week we went to class and learned how to cook certain things, and then we ate them. We had them for lunch, and then whatever we made, we had to eat. So I was eating very well, and the food was very good, and we met great people with the same interests.
Yep, that's a great part of that, going to school. All right, Ma. Well, I think we had a great time today.
Yes.
It was really fun to catch up with these stories. And the thing I take away with it, it's really interesting that you went on your own and you worked all day and then you went to those classes at night. Remember how I used to work all day and I would go to the local public access and I'd work at Cablevision and learn how to do video editing and run camera and all that stuff. And then the other time I would wake up at
5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I drove into Boston to that radio station and I produced the radio show. I got all the news. I wrote the jokes. I produced the show, as one of the producers. And then the show would end at 9. And then we'd have the post-show meeting. And then I'd drive out to Framingham and I did my job from 10 to 7 because I loved it.
Yeah,
when I did the outside of work learning, like that, just like you.
Yeah, I learned when I was active in Hadassah, all the mothers stayed home in those days. We didn't have jobs. We stayed home, brought up the kids. And so our energy went to the organization. So we helped a lot. So I became chairman of the dance committee. I became chairman of the donor dinner. And I learned on the job. One of the things I learned on the job, one time I was doing a dance night and we were going to serve refreshments. So we decided the refreshments are going to be bagel, cream cheese, coffee. Okay. So we bought all that stuff. And then the people come up and they're taking the bagel, and we did not have anyone serve it to them. They helped themselves. And I had planned so many pounds of cream cheese for this event and so much bagel, but they were helping themselves. So we ran short of cream cheese. So the next time I had an event, I had someone serve it so we could control the inventory. So that's how I learned to run a successful event.
This is unbelievable. That's what I did too. Run my meetings. Just like you. You're my teacher of life. That's what it is, Ma.
Oh, I remember, Steve, one time when I don't know whether you were a junior or you were a senior, but your class was going to Florida on a trip and you were not interested in going. And
I did not want to go to that trip. You're right. I had no interest.
He didn't want to go, and I wanted him to go because I never was offered an opportunity to do anything like that. So I didn't want my kid to miss out. So I pushed him, and I had to push very hard, and he still wasn't signing up. Well, finally, there was an opening because I think already everybody, it was sold out, but there was an opening. So
yep,
he
last minute opening. Yep.
Yeah. And when he came home, he was telling me about the most wonderful time he had on that trip. So it's a good thing I pushed and he went. I didn't want him to miss out.
Mother knows best. Well, thank you for joining me on the show, Mom. Is there anything else you have to say?
I have to say I love everyone, and I love doing this book. This book has opened up. One thing is leading to another. I do think about it, and the subject gets larger, and it goes in a little different direction. And then I start thinking I'm going to color something to incorporate into what I'm saying. And then, like today, there's a picture that Steve finds that we show too. So the thing is not just answering a question.
Right.
So it's an enriching experience.
I'm loving it. I love it too.
At my age, I'm still having an enriching experience.
Yep. So anything else you have to say?
I have to say I just love everyone. I love everyone.
I love you.
Okay. I'll buy that one.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.